the block where the letter A goes on top. Don't use cell phones or laptops or anything. They just receive those papers you can see there. And I am the one in charge of the technology. I control the questions with my cell phone. And you could see the questions here in the computer. So students really don't manage technology right now, but this is I would say, anonymous test for you. But for the teacher knows at the end of the test who answered correctly and who didn't, because each block has a number, and I have the roster and the numbers. So, when you show me the questions, what I will do is scan the answers with my cell phone camera.
One by one?
No, just like this.
Okay.
Yes? So, how should you create groups for a specific activity in class? Please read in silence and select your answer. When you are ready, show me your papers. Yes. So, A, B, C, or D, please. Okay? Everyone should be ready. I'm going to scan you now. Do it like, it has to be there. Okay? Got you? Tony? Here, let me go with your photo. Okay, gotcha? Okay, gotcha? Carlitos, okay. Okay. Perfect. Tony, you're listening? Perfect. As you can see here, I have these results. I just click on check. Okay, and here, I will update the answers. You can see the answers there. Okay. So, the answers is letter D. I select the heads and tails in each group and carefully assign each group member. Yes? It's not just like, okay, let's do it. Groups, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. So all the ones go with ones. That is when we have to do something not important. But when we're talking about an upper intermediate class, especially if it's a new class like grammar or reading for them, it's important to select the heads and the tails. Head is the leader, the one that is in charge, the one that has the authoritative profile. And the tail is the one that is always needs to, be pushed. So what I do in class is that I select the best and the worst in one group. And then I complete the group with another intermediate. So I have variety. It's not having all the heads together and all the tails together. The idea is that everyone learns from each other. So that will be the first question. Let's go with the next one, okay? Next one. Next question. You see here, I don't blame you. I'm not saying, Jimmy, you don't know.
It depends what you're talking about. Technological has one acronym and pedagogical it has all. So that's why I put it out.
Okay.
I don't remember what the E stand for.
Okay. 6 people here said A, and 1 people said D.
What was the D?
It was you.
D? Oh, really?
It's the way you put the paper.
It said this one.
But look, it says
How the
D.
way that I put the paper? This one, this way, and show the letter?
Yeah, but maybe you did it like this.
What's that?
So, the answer is yeah. So, what is PPP? What is PPP? Yes, well, that would be, yes. It's a pronoun, it's valid, in fact, yes. But,
It's product praise and promotion.
not really.
That's a business. That's a business.
It's present, practice, and produce. Yes. In all those cases, present, practice, and produce is a technique that was used in the antique English classes, in which the students had to only listen, like this case, for example, we're engaging, but then in the last part, that is the production, it was the students' independent part. The rest, the 2 first parts, the present and the produce, if the present and the practice was more teacher talking time than student talking time. So for that reason, they eliminated the PPP area, and then they came up with a new methodology, which is
ESA.
very good. ESA, correct. So we are going to see a little review of what is ESA. Present, practice, and produce was a typical that the teacher comes, shows a picture, and explains all the vocabulary. And then he says, okay, so now students, let's repeat the words. And the students repeat the words. And then, okay, now please complete the exercise. That is I would like to say the 20th century type of teaching. 21st century type of teaching includes more student autonomy and less teacher teaching time, teacher talking time. Yes. So for that reason, I included this question because we were taught, our classes were taught like PPPs. Yes, in class when we learned English, it was like this. But now we should get into the new vibe of the ESA. So that comes the next question. Okay. So, do you know what ESA means? Your answers. Okay, sure. No cheating, you cannot tell your partner. Okay? Yeah? Where were you?
There's no, I don't remember up here.
What? It's not reading. Okay? Okay? Okay, perfect. So, ESA means engage, study, activate.
All of it at a hand, but at least.
So, as you can see, I'm going to this outside. As you can see, you don't know, if I don't tell you, you don't know your answers. When I finish the test, I will print my report card. There's a score sheet that is done immediately. I don't do anything, I just scan your things. The student is the one that is doing everything. Right now, I'm just explaining a little bit to review. Oh, okay, this one. That's number 1, yes? So, engage, study, activate is Missy sent us some, I said not only one, but many emails, I think 2 or 3, I'm not sure, about ESA. And in the ESA paying attention. As you see, sometimes you lose the student's attention every 3 minutes. So every 3 minutes, if you're sitting down, the student will sleep. The student will not be able to do the whole thing. The student will probably just want to go home. So every 3 minutes, either you stand up or you just go around and monitor, etc. That's why we do the engaging type of activities. And the first thing you do before you eat lunch, not, okay students, open your books, where did we stay last week? No, it's more like, hey, how are you? Did you remember yesterday's class? Yes, well, today I brought this activity we're going to do with a cell phone, so you're going to play charades. Let's remember the words. And you put here, okay, so let's make 2 groups, heads and tails, obviously, remember. So put heads, tails here. So let's go, or girls versus boys. It's just an engaging activity. It's more like a competition thing. So that's engaging, 3 to 5 minutes, no more. After that engagement, you can study. You can go directly to what you want, the objective. But first, you have to sell your product. That's why you have to engage. And then active studying means you giving a model, not explaining a class. You give a model of what you want, and students have to develop that themselves. We're talking not about beginners, we're talking about intermediate, upper intermediate students. They know instructions. So you just model language, and they just go with the flow. Like I didn't have to explain to you that one more time. I just did it once, and the rest was yours. And then comes activating. Activating is independency and developing the student's autonomy. How will they use the language in an independent class? It's not, independent doesn't mean here. It's a paper, complete the worksheet. Independent means we're going to elaborate. We're going to create language. Not from exactly what it says in the book. The book suggests many things, which are good, but you can come up with real things from Ecuador, from Guayaquil, from what's happening, the earthquake, etc. And that will help them connect reality versus something that is imaginary, that is language. So that is why they created ESA and ESASA. ESASA is with one engagement, a good engagement. You can teach 1 hour of class. One engagement. You show them a video, that's engaging. A little. But the video must contain something, like I tell my students, delicious. So you could get fully control on your class. So I will show you next week in the listening part some tools in which you can edit videos fast, in a very quick way. And you can make the video stop and ask questions. And students have to answer. So that way, you don't keep it only watching. Sometimes they take out their cell phones, etc. So that is why they came up with not the PPP, but the ESA and all the variations of ESA. My next question has to do with cell phones. Should you allow your students to use their cell phones in class? Never. That is not permitted. Sometimes, only for dictionary lookups. Always, as long as they respect their teacher and the classmates when they're speaking. Or D, always, as long as the use of it accomplishes a learning purpose. Show me your answers. Alright? Okay, all my students are here. So, I have 2 people voted for A, which is never. That is not permitted. Let's guess. Who voted for A? Who voted for A? Never. Never. Don't do it. Well, that's all. No. So listen. No. Well, let's keep it anonymous. But I'm surprised of one of the results. I'm surprised. Yes. Well.
Maybe he wants an extra star.
Maybe he didn't put the paper correctly. Let's see. So the answer was letter D, not letter C or A or B. It's always as long as the use of it accomplishes a learning purpose. It's important that everything you do with your cell phones has a purpose. In class, it's not like, okay, you can use it for Google. You're there. They don't need to Google it if they're freshmen, for example, but when they go to another level, I think it's necessary that they should look up the words for themselves. Yes? Maybe with physical dictionaries, but now it's important to remember, keep in mind that physical dictionaries, English, kind of pricey. Yes?
They're difficult to carry too.
Exactly, thank you. Yes, they're very difficult to carry. So why would you tell your student not to use their cell phones for a definition or for something in class? Obviously, we're talking that in the test, that is not allowed, should not be allowed. But in class, I think it's perfect, in my opinion, it's perfectly normal. Now, the books say that as long as you use it for a learning purpose, they can have it. I sometimes tell my students, hey, tomorrow we're going to have a formative assessment, what we're doing now, but about the book, a reader. Bring your cell phones. They know they have to do it. Okay? And that has a learning purpose. What is the purpose in this case? What is the purpose? What will be the outcome of me telling them to bring their cell phone? What will we do? What do you think we'll do? Very good. Vocabulary. What else? What else can we review? Excellent. Summaries. We can review the characters of a story. I can ask them what happened yesterday in the story that we were reading. I can ask them conditionals. What would you do? Like a formative assessment. If you were, I don't know, Mary Ann from Sense of Sensibility, would you kiss him? Yes or no? Yes? So for those kinds of things, the students have fun. The students remember and connect the story with English, with the class, with language. So my fourth question goes more with the objectives of the class. What am I talking when I say learning purpose? What is a learning purpose? When you are writing your class objectives, what kind of verbs should you use? Not the ones that we use, but the ones you should use. Non-action verbs, mental activity verbs, and action verbs, or cognitive skills verbs, 6 categories. Show me your answers. Tony, you're going slow today. Why?
Yeah, it's true.
Maybe the fingers.
A couple of things that I wanted to mention is also that I know that the hardest time for you to work is at 7 o'clock in the morning because, people come completely asleep, especially on Monday. It's really wake up, even the teacher, not imagine the students, it's really hard for us to keep working on that. And as Andrea said, it's a very good activity. Instead of you being worried about getting out to find out your cup of coffee, is first of all wake up your students. Okay, first of all wake up your students. Yeah, because I do experiment about the energy flow inside the class. When you're sad, your students receive your class quite sad. So, and it is not a matter of, I would say, a legend. In fact, I suffered for a long time. I'm just passing very extreme moments in my life, and for me, it was really hard to be in front of the students and smile. But if I wouldn't have done that, my class would break it into pieces. And be careful with your emotions, sensations, and problems. Try not to transmit in the class. I all the time learning in a university that in the moment you lock the door or close the door, all your problems are there outside. Inside there is a clown, a person who needs to show the show. Alright? Why simple? And so if you cannot be energetic at the beginning, try to at least motivate the students to be energetic so that energy will come to you, and I'm sure you will keep on working very hard. I really recommend that. I strongly recommend it. The other point that I consider also quite important that Andrea mentioned is about the use of technology in class, which is good. I do agree with all the things that Andrea mentioned about how to use technology in class, but I would not accept when the teacher is chatting or the student is chatting behind and the teacher is allowing that.
That's not a learning purpose.
Right, exactly. That is not for a specific purpose. That's right.
But there are some students who go downstairs and complain that why we are restricting them their possibility because they are professionals and they have other professions. And that some of them go downstairs and start complaining, even though we try to reinforce
the way, I asked a question, right? And I said, okay, you Carlos, tell me about, what did I say? Try to summarize the class. And he said, blah, blah, blah. And I started doing this. Sorry? Could you repeat again? So when the person gets, you say, you know how I feel now? Put away your cell phone there. You know, I do really appreciate your respect and reflect. So instead of trying to push it on them, because you know, I would say Latin American people will not accept any attention calling in a certain moment because we're mad or we didn't sleep pretty well or things like that. So we get angry with somebody, especially when we consider we're in a high position that a teacher will call me because I need to, finish a business or doing something there. So try to do it and create ways to make them feel how you really feel, talking about respect. That's the idea. So in that moment, for sure they will reflect. Because in the moment that it comes with I would say a qualitative assessment on your teacher survey, most of the students complain about the teachers should be more demanding about the rule not to allow the students use the cell phone in the class. Or the teacher should be more demanding about the rules. The teacher blah blah blah. But it's just saying about their critics in some areas that the teacher is not, or set the rules at the beginning, but is not making the rules respect. But what is you mentioned, Angelito, is very important because what you say is really true. But what I could suggest that it is the way. Try to create a way depending on the level of or the age of the students that you are dealing with. Okay, that's what I said. Sorry,
My next question. Okay. My next question is, what is the difference between error and mistake? Because we did a mistake. Hey, you made a mistake. But what is the difference?
Now I know. Yeah, now I know what is low.
There are two students that say yes. I would like to know what is the difference.
I think I know the difference.
Yes?
Yeah. A mistake is something that you made, but you can identify. You can notice that you made it. You made it.
Right,
But
right.
an error is something that you don't even notice you did.
Fossilized. Yes, fossilized. Correct. Yes. And
What you
mistake,
like to say is the slip of the tongue.
sometimes it is, that's a mistake. It's accidental. Yes? Mistake is something that is accidental. You say, for example, maybe later I say, people doesn't. And suddenly I'm like, no, sorry, people don't. I made a mistake. Very small, but it's accidental. It's not something I have it in my blood. Error is something that you have it already in your system and doesn't go away. Now, it could go away if we corrected the mistakes. Tell me, how do you correct mistakes? I want to hear you. Tell me.
But depending on the mistake, there are different ways. You can be indirect when you do it directly to the person.
Right.
Or it can be indirect by writing the mistake on the board or have a notice to correct the partner. Or sometimes you don't do anything. Students notice a mistake and they look at you and say,
Yes.
the person said something wrong.
Right, yes, Mommy, you're very right. In fact, that's the way we are taught at SEN how to correct, yes? Like telling the partner to repeat, maybe repeating ourselves. Maybe sometimes, like what you said, we can reflect. And you say, comfortable. And the student is, yes, miss, comfortable. Comfortable. This is comfortable. And the student says, no, miss. The idea is to make them realize that there is something wrong and they should correct it. When should they correct it? Do you think freshmen 1 can correct their mistakes? It's impossible. But when we are teaching upper intermediate courses, especially in the writing section or when we're checking reading, it's important to let them know that there is not like, oh, just because it's in this course you made a mistake. This is something that is already an error. Something that has been going on in the previous learning courses from here or anywhere they have been, and it has not been corrected. What should you correct and what should you not correct. Errors should be corrected. Mistakes can be left out. Okay? What would be an error, for example?
I have 20 years old.
Excellent. Very good example, yes, and we always discuss about it. I have 20 years old. Sometimes they say, I am disagree. I am disagree. I am not agree. Why should we correct that? Because the background of that error is not because they don't know the language English. It's because they translated to Spanish, from Spanish to English. That is what needs to be corrected. Oh, if the student said people and didn't say people, that is something that, it's a mistake. But if they say, I have 20 years old, or I am disagreeing, that is something that needs to be addressed immediately. That is an error. We have to focus.
Sometimes it's difficult to eliminate that because they carry the system.
Yes.
And it becomes
Yes, like I said, that is a problem.
And it's difficult to remove because they come up with that thing when they are listening, the higher levels that they are still continuing here, I am.
Right.
Or I have.
Jeremy Hartford, he's a creator of some books that are about methodology. He said that we should address the errors in 3 ways for the 3 different types of learners: the visuals, the auditives, and the kinesthetics. So every error should be addressed in the 3 ways to cover all the class and be repeated while in class as many times as possible, so that is already could be resolved.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
And so